Welcome back, my friend. This is Mr. Allen in the world of toys. I have a very special guest, my friends. My dear friends, he come back right now. There is also the church near my house, guys. I give you the one and the only Brian Flynn. Welcome, Brian.
Thank you.
How you doing, Brian?
Good. How are you?
I am very happy to have you back on my channel because everybody talks about something that you make in last few days. Therefore, I talk about Silverhawks. I think everybody are excited. Everybody talks about that in good things because if many people talks about that, is the results of a good choice, in my opinion.
Yes. There's a lot of opinions out there, but I'm sure we will talk about them. By the way, very nice poster.
And the first consideration about the Silverhawks, and I think I talk also with Corn before that because I know that for also I'm involved in this series. I like the shape that you choose on the cartoon accurate style of the characters, because in general I like this type of figure, and also because is another. I told you last time with you. I like Super7 because you made many first time ever, and it's the first time ever that we have a Silverhawks cartoon accurate. Tell me something about this choice.
Yeah, I mean, obviously with Silverhawks, there's sort of two things. There's the cartoon. Here, I got to make sure my hand fits in the frame. There's the cartoon, and then there are the toys. Most people are much more familiar with the toys than the cartoon because the cartoon was not on for as long, and the toys were wonderful toys, but the toys actually don't really look like the TV show very much. You know, Buzzsaw is even green instead of gold. So, you know, there was a lot of different things, but really what it came down to is that we wanted to make Silverhawks that looked like the cartoon for the first time ever. If you collect ThunderCats from us, then most of those people are also very interested in Silverhawks. So then your ThunderCats could stand next to the Silverhawks and it could all feel like it was part of the same world, the same line. So we really focused on trying to make them look as much like the cartoon as possible, which is different than the toys, obviously.
Yes. In the first four figure, we have also big guy Moonstar. What is the size of this figure?
So I'm not going to be able to translate to metric. I am American, unfortunately. So he's 11 inches tall. So he's 4 inches taller than the Silverhawk. So, you know, half the size of a body, again, tall, plus scaled up wide. We went through a lot back and forth on that figure about trying to understand, you know, you need him to be bigger, but when does it get too big and too expensive? And then we'd scale him back down and he didn't feel right. We went back and forth a lot. And a few of the people that we were talking to really came back and were just like, you know, he needs to have that scale. And, you know, I was very worried about it because it makes that figure so much more expensive than the others. They're already expensive, and now that one's extremely expensive. But, you know, we want to make it as close as possible, and not one of those things where you get it and you're like, oh man, it's 85% of the way there, but not 100%. So in the end, making him true to relative size was where we ended up, and he's absolutely massive. He's much bigger than Mum-Ra even.
Awesome. I saw also the pictures in the preview that these four first figures also they have different size between each others, because I saw that Monster is the taller. We have also Basso is a little bit shorter, and the other two are shorter than Basso. So we have I like that because ultimate figure, but with the good proportion between the characters. Tell me about also about this choice, because I think is maybe it should be easier made figure with the same size. but I think it's better, speaking of the cartoon accurate, speaking of to have more fun, because I like that, uh, choose this way to give different size and different age for different characters.
Yeah, I mean, we're trying to make the best figures we can out of this stuff, and especially in the Silverhawks case, the villains, especially those robots, they're just gigantic. So they would just look wrong if it was scaled down so much more so that they had the same head height. And it was like same thing, pushing and pulling, looking at what we can get away with. And yeah, Buzzsaw is huge. He's huge on his own. Normally he would be huge. And then if you add on Monstar, then it's preposterously huge.
Cool. And speaking of Silverhawks again, but tell me the process in the beginning. Uh, when you decide, you decide to put these four guys in the first wave, and now start. You choose the character, and later you talks with four horsemen for the scout. Tell me a little bit the story behind to create this first wave.
Well, I mean, with the first wave, the obvious thing is you're going to have Quicksilver, and you're going to have a Monstar. As far as Monstar was going, we really wanted to lead with the armored Monstar because that one's just so cool. And then with that, I wanted to have two heroes and two villains. With the heroes, it seems like the girls are always left to be the very, very last. It's like when we've made everybody else, okay, finally, I guess we'll make the girl. So I was like, nope, we're gonna make the girl the first wave. And then when we looked at the other villains, we were just looking around and we're just like, Buzzsaw is just so cool that you can't not make him. So let's make him.
Okay, and now I start with the speculation. Is possible maybe in the future something for the Silverhawks like to the Thundercats vehicles is possible in the future, some stuff like that?
Well, I need to make and deliver a Thundertank before I worry about making any Silverhawks vehicles. But so far the fans have been great, and if it's something that they're interested in, and when that time comes, if people are still interested, we'll put the idea out there and see if they're willing to sort of back it. You never know. I mean, I'm not opposed to it, but I think it's getting a little bit ahead. Like, we need to finish the Thundertank first. Then we can talk about some of the other.
Okay, speaking of Thundertank, there is some update about the production. What is the situation now for the Thundertank?
Yeah, we're still in tooling and getting it done. We expect test shots, I think, to start happening about next month. So as soon as I start seeing plastic, I'll be sending those out, sending pictures of it out, going, look at this giant thing we made. So it's going along totally on schedule so far. No problems.
Okay, therefore is maybe it's possible. What is the schedule to the shipping now? The schedule for the shipping for the Thundertank.
For Thundertank, I think it's still on the same schedule it's always been. Like it's
okay.
It's moving along. It's doing great.
Awesome. And I saw also today the news. Later I will make also a video for that. The Megazord Super Cyborg. Speaking of Power Rangers, is available now. I believe it is a pre-order.
The Super Cyborg, it wouldn't be a pre-order. I know that we showed pictures of it. I think it went live today. Yes, I think you're right. I'm busy planning like 23, late 22, 23. And I'm like, what did we do this week? I forgot, But yeah, that toy came out phenomenal. It came out great. It looks so good.
You are in the future. You are in the future because you work to.
Yeah, I have to be working 18 months in advance. So yeah, and then I have to come back and be like, okay, what are we working on this week? I forgot.
And I have a general consideration about toy maker that I want to share it with you, and I'm curious to know what is your opinion about that. I think that when a toy maker decides to create some stuff, In the same time, this toy maker created the toy, but also created in the same time the fans, a typical a type of fans. Okay, if you create the Silverhawks cartoon equally, or you created ThunderCats, you created also the fans for that, for these toys at the same time. What do you think about my consideration?
Obviously, if the toy doesn't exist, there you could argue that those fans aren't there. I think, you know, in most of these cases, I'm talking to fans that already exist. The question is, are the toys that I'm making the toys they want? I think for so many of those people, especially if it's been a toy property or franchise that's been around a long time and nothing's been made, those fans in their brain, they have an idea of what they want it to look like. And when I put my thing out, if it doesn't look like what they thought it was going to look like, that can be problematic. But so far, yeah, it definitely seems to be that people are getting more and more interested in a lot of the toys we're making. The more of them we get out, the more there's a whole world of them to collect rather than just a couple, the more people seem to be interested in it. Like, it's neat as just a few, but when there's a lot and they're different lines and they can cross over, that seems to be very interesting to people.
Okay, Super7 is famous also for many reaction figures that you did in the past. Do you know how many reaction figures did you create until now?
Lots. If you count, I mean, I would say we're probably 750 to 1,000 different toys so far, and we got lots more coming.
Maybe it's time to create a toy guide for the reaction figure created by Super7.
There, a number of years ago, a guy named Nick Durham in the UK did an unofficial guide to that point. He made one, but there hasn't been one since. It's one of those things where we've talked about before that would be a really cool thing to do. The problem, of course, becomes having the time to do it. And we're so busy making the toys that we don't have time to sit down and be like, okay, well, this is when this one came out, and this is when this one came out, and we forgot about this. Like, there should be one, but there's only so much time in the day right now, and I'm getting to make the toys, so I'm focused on that. But there's definitely an interest in trying to do something like that, but it's definitely tricky.
Yes, I understand also, because when you have many things to do, it's difficult following everything that you do every day. You know, I'm busy because I have two channels. I'm a writer. I write many novels, and I arrive in the end of the day that I not finish everything that I was scheduled when I started my day.
Yeah.
And I understand what happened with you, that you are working in 2 years in the future. I have also this stuff to do. A toy guy will be maybe you lost your private life if you made also a toy guide, I believe.
Yeah, I think it's something that we need to do at some point, just to sort of take a look at all this cool stuff. But it's also just, then it's gathering all the samples, photographing it all, doing all the writing. There's an unbelievable amount of work there. So maybe one day, not today, but maybe one day.
And speaking of Super7, I know everybody knows that you did many interesting stuff about music action figure or reaction figure. Tell me a little bit the story in general. How start this stuff with music?
It started pretty straightforward. I'm friends with the guys in the band Gorilla Biscuits, an American punk rock band, hardcore band from New York. And years back, when we were still mostly making vinyl figures, they have a mascot of the gorilla on their first 7-inch. I was like, it would make a really cool vinyl figure. It looks like a character. So we made that into a vinyl figure. That did really well. And then as we started being able to make more and more reaction figures, we were unsure if there were enough people that would buy music figures or not. So then it was trying to figure out sort of where we could go next with it, and that's where we made like the agnostic front figure, and we started with actually King Diamond. So in the case of King Diamond, one of the people I knew growing up in Texas was actually his lawyer, and he was out here visiting, and we were just chatting one night, and he was telling me some things. He was talking about some stuff he was working on with King, and he kept saying, "Oh, I'm working on this with King. We're doing this with King." And I was like, I thought he was talking about King Coffee from the Butthole Surfers. And I was like, wait, which King are we talking about? And he's like, King Diamond. And I was like, oh my God, King Diamond? Like, this would be the most amazing thing. Like, it would be hilarious and awesome to make a toy of King Diamond. Here you have the guy that invented black metal and the first guy to wear the corpse paint and everything else. And let's make a toy of him. And so he was like, yeah, well, I don't know. We'll see. We reached out to King through him. And King, having grown up in Europe and being older than us, did not understand it at all. He was just like, well, your kids are going to buy this? Like, I don't get the action figure thing, because he was older than action figures. Action figures, didn't exist when he was a kid. And luckily, between myself and his lawyer, they're like, just trust me, like, this will be cool. And then once we made it and he saw how the fans reacted to it and how much they loved it, then that allowed us to keep going with it. And he was like, oh, this is awesome. Everybody loves it. That led into several other metal bands, plus Agnostic Front on the punk side. And most of the time we were just reaching out to friends of ours or friends of people that work here at the studio. That's how the Anthrax figure happened, because Charlie is a really nice guy, collects toys, really good friends with Brian Liu. The Megadeth figure happened because of Brian Liu's relationship with them. Slayer, sort of the same way. And then we just started being like, who do we want figures of? And it's just turned into sort of its own little group of figures on its own.
Okay. And speaking of music, this is just a question for music, but it's my curiosity, because I like this songwriter that is from California. Therefore, I believe in the same country of you. I talk about Ry Cooder. Do you know Ry Cooder, the musician?
I know who he is. I can't say that I'm very, very familiar with his work. I believe that Ry Cooder was more of like in the 70s, 60s, 70s, right?
Yes, but also today, because also his son play music. Ry Cooder is is a strange type of music, because between rock, country rock, and he's an interesting character also. And when I made an interview with William Stout on this channel, he told me a fun, because he's a big fan of Ry Cooder. He told me a fun story when he met Ry Cooder for the first time. However, because no one made an action figure for Ry Cooder, and maybe some people can think that it's not so popular, but it's not true, because the musician, especially the guitarist, because Ry Cooder is one of the best guitarists in the world, the guitarists love so much Ry Cooder. And I think that these guys could be also customers for an action figure of Ry Cooder. I don't know. It's just an idea that I give.
Yeah, I mean, it's very interesting. We're definitely branching out a little bit in who we make. It's not completely like who I want. There are other people that work at Super7 now. Who are those people really interested in? Well, let's make that. I mean, that's how the Grateful Dead came around. First off, it's San Francisco, where we're from. It's very important counterculture. So historically, there's a lot of real reasons. But there's a couple people at the office that just love the Dead. So, okay, well, then let's make the toy you want to have. I wanted to have the Agnostic Front or Gorilla Biscuits figure. You want to have the Grateful Dead figure. So let's make the figure you want to have. And it's been very interesting as we continue to make more and more stuff, how well they're being received and that people are really excited about them. It's a lot of fun.
Awesome. And speaking of Transformer, I'm a collector of your Transformer reaction figure, because once again, cartoon accurate, I like this stuff. Are scheduled more for this reaction figure Transformer in the future?
Yeah, I think we're on wave 5. Wave 5's being worked on right now, and then there's more after that. So yes.
Okay. Perfect.
We're making lots of Transformers.
Yes, because I like the cartoon accurate, and also will be more also for the Ultimates Transformers, because you remember last time we meet together an awesome stuff. The I remember especially your version of Optimus Prime, unique stuff, unique accessories.
Yeah, with
More
like
for that.
basketball and the surfboard and everything. Yeah. No, wave 2 of Transformers comes out, I think, at the end of this month. Either
Oh,
that or the end of July. I can't remember. It's either the end of June or end of July, but it's coming up quickly.
okay, awesome. And speaking of the sculpt in general of the your Ultimates figure are made every Ultimate series by Four Horsemen.
Not all of them, no. A lot of them, obviously the Four Horsemen are one, and Eric and Cornboy and all those guys, they're all phenomenal. But there's only, obviously, they're very busy. We're not their only client. So at a certain point, they can't do everything. I'd love them to do everything, but they do quite a lot of stuff for us, but not everything.
Okay, when you also all work behind the scene again, another question for that. When you choose a sculptor, for example, depend for the project, for the type of figure that you want to make. What is the rules to choose a good sculptor for a project?
A lot of it depends on how you want it executed. Like if we're talking about something like Walt Disney or something like more of a cartoon, there's a different kind of sculptor than you would use than if you need something like He-Man or something where it's really musculature, or is it really representational? Is it really flat? There's it kind of goes all over the map. Granted, a lot of the sculptors are very talented and they can kind of do most whatever you want. But regardless of that, there's always, even after we do all the turnaround drawings and everything else, there's still interpretation that happens to take a 2D element and turn it into 3D. So every sculptor has their own particular sort of style that they twist onto those things. So, we look at a lot of that, like what's going to really lay into that sculptor's style the best.
Okay, I believe also this philosophy is the same also for the illustration on the box. I believe to
Yeah,
choose the piece.
exactly. Like what's really going to make it feel unique, what's going to make it feel like it's part of the brand, like it doesn't feel foreign. And when you pick it up, you're like, oh, wow, that's awesome.
Okay, and I saw also many interesting and funny videos on Super7 channel on YouTube that you made for each line, which different guy of Super7. And I remember also your show for San Diego Comic Con and also New York Toy Fair. I like this concept also because especially the show with you looks like a comedy show a little bit.
A little bit, yeah.
It was very entertaining. Will be more about that in the future because I think it was a good way, different of everyone, to promote a toy of action figure or project in general.
Yeah, we've got a couple more coming. Obviously, during COVID, it was much harder to get people together and do videos, and because then you have to have a filmer and a lighting guy. You have to usually have somebody else to make sure I don't forget what I'm supposed to talk about because I ramble. So there are more videos coming, but I also tried to make it not just about me. There's a lot of people that work here, and a lot of them have really cool, interesting stories to tell. So when we have a product that somebody at the office is really passionate about, I try to let them do the video. That way it's you can see their excitement and love for the toy coming through, rather than it's not really about me doing it. In the beginning, I did a lot more of the videos because no one else wanted to. So
Okay.
somebody's got to do it. I guess it's going to be me. And now, I really try to make sure that other people at the office that want to talk about the toys that they're making get that opportunity.
I like that because it's a entertaining side of to promote something. It's not just make toy and promote, but also create this stuff. I think it's time also to give also an opportunity for the other member of Super 7, and also to show the passion also that you have for the toy that you make also. And a
Yeah.
consideration I have in general, this is the episode 16 of my show. Hey, I meet many people of this world of the toy business, and also a sculptor, a designer, YouTuber. And but speaking of especially the toy business, toy maker, I discovered something that I like so much because, for example, in the music business that I know very well, especially in Italy, when people become famous, lost a little bit their passion. For example, he did a song, but he did a song because there is a contract, and maybe the song is not very good, and maybe he doesn't like so much this song, but he needs to do the song because there is a contract, and lost their passion a little bit in the music stuff in general.
Right.
If you watch many singer, historic singer, in the beginning was excited, were their project, their song were so authentic, and during the time they become famous, and lost their passion. But in doing business, I understand it's different because every people that I meet on this journey, especially you, but everyone love their job and still to love their job and still to have the passion for the job. What do you think about that? Is the magic of the toys?
Well, I think the reality is none of us are famous. That's the first part. None of us are really famous. There might be a thing where somebody knows who I am, but I'm not famous. Like, I don't walk out of a house and people go, "Oh, that's Brian." They're like, "It's just the dude. It's just another guy." There's nobody that you can point to, I think, within the toy industry that is famous. So I think that's a different thing, because I think for all those people that you were talking about, the musicians, there's probably a lot of things that go on. I can sing the song, but that means this happens in my life and this happens in my life, and now I can't do this or that. And so there's probably other things weighing them down, where for us, I'm just making toys, and I get to talk to you, but there's not really that many people looking to talk to me.
Really, but I believe if you are in some Comic Con toy fair in that situation, you are famous like every toy maker.
I think there's people who know who I am. I don't necessarily think it's famous.
Okay, I understand the difference.
There's a big difference. Like, I
I
know
got
who they are too, and I see them all the time. It doesn't mean they're famous, but I know who they are.
Okay. And speaking of another things that I ask you every time, because I'm a big fan of that, there is some hope now or some future possible hope to have in the future ultimate cartoon accurate figure from Bravestar?
You are right. You do ask. Not yet, but that's not to say it won't happen. But right now, I think we're pretty busy, but I'm working on the future. You never know what's going to happen.
Okay, finger crossed, by the way. This is my typical question, this one,
Yes,
every time.
exactly. This is what I need. I need you to help me.
Exactly. And speaking of the Godzilla, what is the situation now? What is there will be something in the future, near future, or maybe?
Most of it happens next year, but there will be a Godzilla item for sale very soon.
Awesome, awesome. This is an awesome news also to every Godzilla fan around the world.
Yes, yeah, and we're going to go deep in the monsters. I mean, because that's the most interesting part. I mean, Godzilla is interesting. Let's not get that wrong. Whether it's 54, 57, 62, 64, 85, like whatever. Like, we can go through the suits and the changes and everything, but what's most interesting is Godzilla fighting Jet Jaguar or Megalon or King Ghidorah or Anguirus, or we can go all the way down the list. And so our plan is to do everybody, every monster ever, all the way down to Kuman and Spigo.
Awesome. And speaking also of the New Japan Pro Wrestling figures, what is the situation? I don't remember if the first wave was shipped, or what is
Yeah.
the
First wave shipped a while back, and then the second wave is due to ship next month in July. And that one's finally coming out. That's one of those ones that's it's just taking too long. Some of them seem to go as expected on clockwork, and then there's ones that just don't. And that one just hasn't been. But and JPW Wave 2 will ship out of the factory next month.
And will be more wave in the future?
We have Wave 3 done. I don't know if we'll get to release it or not. That really comes down to other people's decisions.
Okay, I understand. Because I believe that for Super 7 is a big goal, have also the action figure of wrestling, because I think in general the action figure of wrestling are so popular.
Yeah, and there were just other people that we wanted to see make, and no one was making them. So why don't we start making them?
But you make the New Japan Pro Wrestling, by the way. Also, two awesome ultimate figure of Andre the Giants.
Yes, and then Andre with his robe and sash is delivering any day now, and then there's a lot more Andre iterations to go. We've got to make later Andre in his singlet. There's some other cool stuff there. We've made the Major Pod guys with Brian and Matt, and then we made Machine Gun and Doc Gallows. So there's some fun stuff in there, and it's fun because those are nice people and they're nice to work with and they're fun, and that's what it's supposed to be, like having fun making these toys. So.
And speaking of Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, is possible, just another speculation, maybe I know also the answer because this question is similar what I did earlier with the Silverhawks, but it's possible in the future also vehicles for the Turtles?
Maybe. I can't say
smile,
yes or no.
Your smile tell me something. It's
Maybe.
like a
I don't have a good poker face. What can I say?
Awesome. This is a question, maybe general question. What is your favorite, when you was a kid, your favorite cartoon?
Favorite cartoon?
Yes.
Battle of the Planets, which was Gatchaman. So
Okay.
in Italy, I think you got regular Gatchaman.
Yeah.
Or maybe did you get the Sandy Frank version? In the United States, they took Gatchaman, they edited it down, cut out some of the violence, added in a robot, and called it Battle of the Planets. But as a kid, Battle of the Planets, hands down, was my favorite show.
Okay. And maybe later, if you want, because I have a message for everyone. I saw many messages in the chat. Maybe the last 10 minutes, if you want, you can make some question to
Sure.
Brian. It's okay for you, because there are many questions, but maybe how many time do you have for interview?
For you, Alan?
Yes. Forever.
Not forever, but close.
Okay, awesome. And speaking of the Turtles again, how many wave now you did? 5 wave, I'm correct?
5? Did 5 come out yet? I think 5 came out.
Yeah, 5, I believe.
Yeah, 5 came out. 5 so far, yes.
Yeah, the last
I have to go back in time. Like, where are we? 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah. Yes, 5 is out so far. And
maybe
Wave 3 starts shipping, I think, next week from the warehouse. Like, it's in stock. We have it. We were receiving it this week and last week. So Wave 3 should be in people's hands very, very quickly.
Awesome. And will be more wave after the 5, 6,
Yes.
7?
Yes.
Because I understand that this Ultimates TMT from Super 7 becomes so popular because it looks like to see, because the vintage one maybe had some problems, speaking of the details, not because they are vintage one, different stuff, but with your Ultimates, you make a made a perfect version of these figures. And also update also because the Ultimates is a totally different size, different details. And I think is maybe is one of the reason because many people love the TMT Ultimates from Super7. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I mean, obviously, going backwards, when we got the license for Turtles, we thought we had it. NECA got the license for Turtles. They thought they had it. We both showed up at Toy Fair and we both had Turtles. And it was like, I thought I had Turtles. You got Turtles? You got Turtles. I thought I had Turtles. So, Randy and I sat down and sort of chatted about what we wanted to make. And they had already been making some Turtles that were based on sort of movie cartoon. So they really wanted to make stuff that was movie and cartoon based. And I was, my memory of Turtles is much more centered around the toys than the cartoon. So I really wanted to make stuff that was centered around the toys. So we sort of made a gentleman's agreement, if you will, of like, okay, you guys go over here and do this version of Turtles, and we'll go over here and do this version of Turtles. And that way, we're not fighting over the same thing. And so, we've done a lot of stuff that's it feels, I think, very nostalgic to people, and has a feeling of something that they had when they were a kid, but something new at the same time.
Awesome. And you did, how many Ultimates figure you did out till now?
Ultimates total across everything?
Yes.
I don't know, because you'd have to go back through all the Masters of the Universe stuff, all the Conan stuff. I don't know, Alan. Can't tell you. I'm sorry.
No problem.
We've made a fair amount, but
Yes,
we got a lot more to go.
They are awesome. And what is your favorite Ultimates figure that you did?
I think I've got several, depending on when we made it and what it was for. I think the Hey Now San Diego Prince Adam with the glitter package, that was really, really a really cool and fun thing to do and very unexpected. Making the movie figures for Masters of the Universe was a big deal because it was a lot of work, a lot of hard work to get all those made, and that turned out really well. I really love the Conan movie figures that we made with Thulsa Doom and Rexor and Thorgrim. That stuff's really cool. The Toxie turned out amazing. We had no idea how that was going to turn out, and it turned out really great. There's a lot of them that I really like, Who's ringing my doorbell? Oh, the family. Okay, there we go. Like, why did they ring the doorbell? So I don't know that I have a single favorite one, but there's a lot of them that I really like. I mean, I like them all, but there's a lot of them that really are like, okay, that's a specific moment where something sort of maybe turned a corner that was really cool.
Okay, and now another question, maybe a throwback question, I don't know. But speaking of Master of the Universe movie, William Stout collection, when before that was stopped because lines and stuff, can you tell me which other character were scheduled and they didn't appear?
I mean, there was a lot of stuff that we had. There was, I'm blanking on his name now, but there was one of the old Mattel designers that passed away, almost 10 years ago, that we got a lot of his drawings, and we had 5.5-inch sketches, like classic master style, for characters from the movie, like what those would have looked like. There was a lot of places to go within the movie that obviously we haven't been able to go back and do.
Okay. Was those figures were awesome, and also Anthony DeLongis told me that he has in on some figure of the Universal Ultimate William Stout, the William Stout figures. Told me that because also the people that work in that movie love so much your figure, the William Stout collection.
Yeah, there's definitely been a couple of the people in the movie that are like, finally, a toy of me.
Yes. Anthony Longis told me that he has also the Golden God Skeletor because he made that scene in the movie because he was also a little bit a stuntman. He made also some scene with Skeletor because he's Anthony DeLonghi is a master of blade and sword and this stuff. And therefore, the battle between Skeletor and He-Man was Anthony that played the skeleton in that movie. So he got from Super7 also this figure of Skeletor because he told me that I'm also this guy because I played this guy.
Oh, that's
but he loves so much your figures also, and I think this is a good results also this one. No, the people that love the work in that movie love also the stuff that you did inspired from that movie. It's like a circle.
yeah.
That
was definitely a lot of work, but really cool to get that to happen because no one believed it could ever happen.
Exactly. And speaking of in general, it's more difficult create an action figure based on a movie or an action figure like, for example, the TMT Ultimates based in old toys with a new version of that.
I don't think there's a difference really. It's just making great toy. That's it. Just make it the best you can. The source material, I don't think helps or hinders one way or the other. Just try to take the spirit of that character and reinterpret it in a way that makes sense.
Okay, we have some maybe now I put some question for the fan. I'll alternate my question with them question. And there is this question that I like because maybe it's a question maybe I did it with you other time. However, this is a question for Claudio Toledo. Maybe it's Italian because Claudio is an Italian name also. However, real Ghostbuster can happen?
Not right now. The master toy license for Ghostbusters in all formats is controlled by Hasbro. So you can only get Ghostbusters toys from Hasbro right now. And I think construction's considered a different category. So that's why you can also get Playmobil.
Okay. And speaking of the Power Rangers, is schedule also in the future a possible Ultimates also for them? Another smile.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay. I try to find another interesting question.
So that does remind me. I'm correct. Transformers is at the end of July, not at the end of June.
End of July. Okay, maybe because there is another things on July. If you come back, we talk about Transformers and another things you told me, but
yeah,
still secret now. And there is many other questions. Maybe this guy asking you, Anthony Frederick, if it's possible that Disney staff also a Roger Rabbit Ultimates figure.
Disney Lions. I'm wondering what he means by Disney Lions.
Maybe he means lines, but it was a text.
Okay. Roger Rabbit. There may be some Roger Rabbit stuff in the future.
Awesome. Also, because Roger Rabbit is interesting because we have human, we have a cartoons character. When I was a kid, my reaction was very excited because that movie crossed the line between the reality and the cartoon animated series. Yeah. It was to believe that it's possible to find a cartoon character in real life. Also, when I was a kid, I liked it so much. This type of concept, this mashup between reality, and cartoon. What do you think about this type of movie?
I like that movie a lot. There's a lot of fun parts for it. There's a couple things in it where you're like, not sure that aged quite as well as it could have. But yeah, I mean, like, especially at the end where Judge Doom takes off the hat and his eyes bug out and he starts talking crazy. Like those are great, you know?
Maybe some stuff about the character of Jessica Rabbit are not is kid related so much because this character. But maybe I believe that they do that also to put to have an audience, not just a kid audience, but also another age of audience. Maybe to have a large target for the show.
Sexy cartoon.
Exactly. Uh, there is many questions because we have a long,
Long list.
long list. This is a question also related to my last interview with Cornboy, our mutual friend. Cornboy from For Osman says he would like to work on Battle Beast from Transformers. Do you think that will be in the Ultimate Transformers line?
Are we talking about Battle Beasts, the little figures, or are we talking about like dinosaurs and stuff like that? Because Battle Beasts, Battle Beasts were the little figures, where Transformers you had, Beast Wars. So I'm not sure. Does he mean Beast Wars or does he mean Battle Beasts?
He wrote Battle Beasts with the four.
It's from Transformers. Well, I assume he means Beast Wars then.
I don't know. Maybe Justin put an explanation for that because.
Well, I'll answer both sides. Beast Wars for sure. We're going to get there. Battle Beasts, not right now.
Okay. Awesome. Perfect. There is a message for you. I want to thank Brian for picking up the torch of Moto Classics when Mattel gave up. We keep Masters relevant. This is an appreciation for you.
Oh, thank you. I mean, there's definitely a bit where we kept it going and helped grow it again to the point where Mattel took it back, and then that's why you have lots of great Masters toys now. They're making cartoons again. So, I'd like to think that we're part of the reason that it's come back. We're not all of it. Obviously, it had a huge run back in the day. So I think we helped dust it off a little bit, but obviously Mattel's taking it and running with it.
I hope that maybe because now the Masters line that they make is different that your project, I hope maybe in the future it's possible to have again from Super7, Club Grayskull, and William Stout, because I understand the rules, but the Club Grayskull and William Stout are not included in their project. Therefore, it's not. They could be coexist, in my opinion, because they are two different masters. So because of that, I hope maybe the future, because also I was surprised.
They've announced that they're going to do some sort of new multi-articulated 7-inch line. So I think they want to keep any competition away from that. So we'll see what they come out with. I'm sure it's going to be very cool. And hopefully one day we'll get invited back to the party.
I hope. Finger crossed again. There is another question from Derek. Brian, did you get the Batman animated series license?
No, unfortunately. That's all controlled by Warner Brothers, and those Master Toy license, they broke it up, but Spin Master has the mass market version of that license, and then the collectible license is at McFarlane. So nobody else gets to play.
Also, because I think that the animated series Ultimates figure should be a perfect from Super7.
Yeah, Diamond's made some stuff that's close. It's 6 inches tall and whatever. But yeah, there would be some really cool stuff. The Bruce Timm animated series is stunningly beautiful.
Yes. Also looks like a movie. It was not a typical cartoon because I watch every episode of the series because I like that. And when also the storyline, the script of the cartoon was so accurate and remember me so much the two movies of Tim Burton a little bit with the atmosphere. And not like other series of cartoon. They are on different level, in my opinion, this animated series.
Yeah, and if you really think about it, like that's when you finally got the That's where really the sort of gravelly "I'm Batman" sort of thing came from. That now everybody just assumes is Batman, but before that series, that wasn't really how Batman was portrayed. He was always more like, "I'm Batman," you know.
Exactly. And what is general question? What is the most difficult license in to get in the toy business?
Star Wars,
Oh, okay.
Star Wars. Hold on, let me make sure I'm in the camera. There we go. Star Wars. I'm gonna get my hand in the wrong spot here. Star Wars, Marvel, DC. Those are probably the hardest three.
The hardest three. Okay. And another one. Hey Brian, when you guys reveal what you're working on with Warner Studios, I think it's vintage TMT related. I don't want my question to get lost in the comments.
Um, I we've got some things going with them that they're more modern based. There's nothing quite yet going on that's vintage based, but that doesn't mean that it won't be.
Okay. You still a collector today?
Oh, come on. Yeah, the difference is now I get to keep all the test shots that I get. Well, you don't see very many of them popping up. What happened to them all? Brian has them. Like, oh, this one came in with blue arms instead of red arms. Mine. You know. Yeah, no, all the time. I mean, I think I was just, like last week, 2 weeks ago, it was the flea market that happens here once a month, and it's like I bought 4 GI Joes, 5 or 6 Star Wars figures, a trash compactor, a Baron Karza. Like, yeah, you never stop looking and buying for toys.
Awesome. How many figures do you have?
It's uncountable. Uncountable.
You have the space to display all your figures?
No, who does? Name one toy collector that has everything out.
Speaking of the space, I have a story that's also related about this big guy that you created, the Snake Mountain. And in my house, there is just a living room. I have a huge room, that my toy room, also my studio for my stop motion. When I get this room by my father, this room is huge. It looks like a 3 normal room. And I remember when my girlfriend goes in my toy room for the first time, he told me, wow, this room is huge. Later, after the arrival of the Snake Mount and the other collection that I have, and now I start also to collect Mythic Legion and there's other stuff. I have a project, diorama for stop motion and this stuff. The last time that she goes in my toy room, says, "Oh, but looks like small now."
Yeah, it's full.
Yes, exactly. Also, to create some stuff, I need to move on one side because it maybe is a versatile room because you need to move a table, stuff because I have a diorama for Brez because I made different stop motion. A stop motion for Brez because I make custom figure with my friends. I create a storyline with many legend of the 80s like Big John Studd in Hasbro style, the so short guy. Short line, but for that I made different proportion, and the reason why I like so much also the choice that you did for Silverhawks because I like this stuff when we have different character with different size. Big John Studd needs to be bigger than Macho Randy Savage because he's a giant, for example.
Yeah,
and sometimes in another line, also in the Mattel, sometimes I remember I watch a figure of Tugboat. Tugboat is a big guy. He's also a fat guy, a little bit. He's a 385 pounds. Looks like with same size like a Bret Hart. Speaking of the shape of the body, and this I don't like that. Also for the Hasbro, sometimes the proportions are not very good. And so when I created this character with my friends, I told you, remember the size of the guy. This guy is big. I give to him the build height and weight to create the size. So to do the, I have many type of diorama for resin, for Master of the Universe, and I need as a Transformers room because change every time for every stuff that they make. Other question for the fan. This one question: will we see any more Conan Ultimates after the one that have already been shown?
Yes,
Awesome.
for sure. We've got to deliver the latest pre-order, and then we'll move on to the next one.
Awesome, because I consider like the Master of the Universe William Stout, also the Conan figure, piece of art because they have a perfect likeness, and when you have these figures in your hands, it looks like to have the character jump out from the screen from the movie. And this
Yeah.
is the I like so much the level of the quality that you got for this figure, also for William Stout. Maybe I consider that the pinnacle until now, however,
Yeah.
of the Ultimates figure in general, not only for Super 7, but in general. You made an awesome work. And I
Yeah,
love it.
I mean, and that's one of those figures that lends itself to lots and lots of detail and lots of paint, where something like Silverhawks is very clean, very minimal, very simple in its sculpting. So it's what's appropriate for the character. But yeah, we haven't even gotten to Conan the Destroyer yet.
Okay, yes, there is another awesome movie.
Mhm.
Awesome. Another smile, my friends.
Yeah.
Remember, when Brian smiles is like a teaser. And there is another question for the fan. Simpson reaction and ultimates. Some chance?
Mm.
Another smile.
Mm.
Wow, I start
Cannot
to
speak
believe.
to that. I
I
cannot
start to
speak to
believe why you are in 2023, 2022, because yeah, we have a lot is coming for Super 7, I believe,
that. Yes. Yes.
because with your smile, I understand many things. Uh,
Yes.
there is another question by Sergio. Says Brian Grateful did Bertha Ultimate, please.
Maybe we'll see. We just got the first Bertha out. There's another Bertha coming, so you'll get another Bertha and everything. You start to think like, what would Bertha come with? You have the wreath. There's a couple other things. It's what would an ultimate really entail? And I'm not sure I know, but then again, there's people that work for me that could probably go this, and I'm like, okay, you're the person then.
Awesome. And you have also a copy for each Ultimates that you made.
Oh,
For
I've got copies, I've got test shots, I've got prototypes, I've got the resin paint masters. Every piece I keep.
awesome. I think that the satisfaction when you watch every figure together that you did, including tester, but especially the final, is awesome. I believe the satisfaction when you watch this stuff that you did.
Yeah, I am proud of what we've made. I like it, and I like having it around.
Awesome. Because I believe for in the land of creativity, when you watch what you did, is awesome feelings. Sometimes not easy to describe for someone that don't create something like that.
Yeah.
But when someone created, because an action figure is a piece of art, because it's including the work of many artists together, a chemistry between many type of artists. Therefore, is a piece of art, is related with the art. So I believe it's the same like when I got my first copy of one of my novel. I have in my library each novel that I did, that I published. Because when I watched that, I saw that I made something.
Exactly. And the most exciting part for me is, I get excited when I see the test shots, but it's more like when the toys actually go into people's hands and you see how much joy it gives them. That's the most exciting part, when they're as excited about it as I am.
Okay, do you like to see together a my stop motion of Master of the Universe?
Well, you sent me one or two already.
If you saw in the past, no, because it would be a replay.
Oh, okay. You send me the link.
I send you the link. Okay. Another question. Okay, no, this one. Yes, maybe we ever see Ultimates Bionic 6.
Somebody asked me about this just the other day. I can't remember who it was. It's not on the radar right now, but never say never to anything. But somebody literally just asked me about Bionic 6, I think yesterday.
Maybe these things, when you remember something that you remember something, the same things. I don't know if it's the same word in English, but it's called déjà vu.
Yeah.
Déjà vu is when you have something that you feel that you get this before, a déjà vu.
It's just, it's a more obscure title, and then to have it brought up twice in 2 days is like, oh, really? That's interesting.
Other question. We have so much. There is the church near my house.
Yes.
Because I live near the church.
Is it 3 a.m.?
No, it's 4 a.m. But to me, no, it's normal because as an artist, I live in the night. I every day because my channel are both this one and the other channel for wrestling have a US audience. So I made video in the night, and also when before that I become a YouTuber, I was a musician also and a writer. I work in the night. I love the night. So
No
I got
distractions.
what?
No distractions.
No distraction, and also like I like live the night. In Italy, it's called like with never live the night like you haven't a tomorrow. So live the night, the night. I got to sleep with the sunrise every day, like I am a little vampire.
There you go.
I go to sleep in the morning and I wake up on. So I'm connected very well with the Eastern time. Basically, I have the same time Eastern time.
Oh.
There is another question. We will shine in silver at some points where you guys still working with a shiny paint.
The paint that's on it, it doesn't exactly render well. We've got sort of a pearlized metallic because we don't want it to be super glossy. It needs to look a little bit more matte like the rest of the figures in the line like it did in animation. So it is metallic, and we're working on a couple different options for paint. But yeah, there's definitely a thing where some point where people are asking, like, will we get toy colors? Like, will I get a green buzzsaw? Will I get a really shiny silver Quicksilver? And, as we move through, I want to get some other characters made first. It's more important to me to get the rest of the team and some of the other villains out first. But if there's a demand and a desire and people want to buy those things, then, there's a very good chance that we'll make that for them.
Cool. Another question. Any idea of a ThunderCats custom playset someday?
It's only this big. It takes up your whole room. Let me make a Thundertank first. Then I can worry about the next one.
Okay. Also because if you know the philosophy of Super7, you will not surprise him if in the future will be a custom, because we know that the big challenge are a part of philosophy of Super7 and Brian Flynn, right?
Yes, but if you're really talking about a cat's lair, it would make Snake Mountain look small.
Wow.
Yeah, that thing would be crazy.
A Snake Mountain, by another time the church, sorry for that. But because where I live is hot now the summer, so I open every window, every door to get the fresh air of the night.
Yeah.
And the church is in front of me.
Yeah.
So,
okay.
But we are lucky because we are not in the midnight where I live. In the midnight, then
Yeah, the bells will go on forever.
Yes, yes, exactly. And speaking of reaction, is possible in the future have other line that you ever never don't tell me the name obviously, but you have scheduled new line in the reaction in the future?
Yeah. There's a bunch of new stuff coming. There's a lot of really cool fun. I mean, I say that, but I mean, there's so much cool stuff in the future that we have planned right now that I'm very excited to finally be able to share some of it with people, in the next year, where they go, oh my gosh, I didn't even think about that. I'm like, I know.
This is typical of Super 7 because many times we are surprised for that. Many surprised because it's interesting because for this is also for the figure that you made, but also for the project that you did. Something that no one made before, something that no one was expected before. That I like this type of philosophy because it's original, it's unique, and also create a new land for for the community to get something new. Therefore, it's also a good opportunity for you and to the collector at the same time. So I like that.
Yeah,
This.
me too.
uh, Oh, there is a question. This is a nice question. It's not related with toys, but I like it. What kind of music are you listening to now?
Right now, old man Brian doesn't get to listen to too much new stuff because I don't have time to discover new stuff that much. I'll be honest, like at this point, it's like I put on my phone or Spotify with all my playlists and I just hit shuffle. Let's see what comes up. Oh, I wasn't expecting that. I wasn't expecting that. If there's something that keeps coming on repeat, probably early Boston hardcore was Last Rites that became Negative Effects afterwards, and that Last Rites Negative Effects album. I've had that one on rotation. I say album because that's the way it's presented now, but it was a 7-inch and then a record. So, but
And by the way, on Spotify and iTunes, there is also an old song that I published in 2014, but it's in Italian, this song. There is also my song.
well,
If you search Alan Magnetti, is my second name, you can find it.
we'll find your song. There we
Yes.
go. Let's see. The other thing, like I've been on a big Carcass kick, so going back through the whole catalog of Carcass. So there you go.
Do you like another music question? However, do you like Peter Gabriel?
I don't know that I could say that I like it. I appreciate it. I understand it. I can look at it and look at the musical risks he's taking and the inventiveness of it. As far as something that I want to play on my headphones, not so much. But that's okay. There's other people that know what it is, but I can, as somebody that's one of those where I can look at it and go, I understand why people really like him. And I understand why people really think he's interesting and unique. Doesn't mean that I want to necessarily buy the records, but I can appreciate his willingness to experiment and reinvent himself on a regular basis.
Yeah, I like him because I like in general the artist that has music, good lyrics, also a good show because he created awesome show with light, a story inside the show. I like it also this stuff, the show part of the music project. Also, when you use a different costume, you create a story, different choreography. I like that also in the show. In general, I like, and also me, I like that because when I make my concert, I use dancers, I use actress, I use many costume myself. I like that, this type of, so I like also Peter Gabriel for that.
Yeah, I mean, you can very much tell that it's much more cerebral with him. You know, there's a deeper thinking to it than just here's a song that will make people dance. Done.
Maybe you can dance Sledgehammer. You can dance on Sledgehammer of Peter Gabriel, I believe.
Yeah, or Big Time.
Yes. There is another question. Is there a chance for, I believe, Toxic, not Taxi, Toxic Crusader, or Call Me in the Adventure Cartoon Ultimates?
Other characters from the Toxic Crusader line. Yes. Yeah, we're working on a couple more Toxic figures. Characters from the Toxic Crusaders line.
What is your favorite line that you have in Super 7? The line that you like so much?
In the end, it would always come back to reaction. That's the thing. I started with those, and those are the toys I loved as a kid, and how the Super 7 that everybody knows today was because I wanted to remake those unproduced 1979 Alien toys. And so, when you go back to all those childhood memories, for me, 3 3/4 figures, that was what toys were.
Awesome. There is a question, but I don't know which. However, it's interesting, but maybe missing something. Have you reached out to Kevin Eastman or Peter Laird to do some artwork for the packaging?
We've talked to them a little bit. Kevin Eastman has shown up a few different times. We've done some photo shoots and different things with him. We always send him samples. He's very, very nice. Him and Peter are working on a comic again. We haven't had them do anything specific yet, but we've talked to them bits and pieces.
Okay. You collect also comic book.
Yes.
What is your favorite?
My favorite growing up was always Daredevil.
Oh,
I felt it was much more, and that was in the Frank Miller run, starting with like 158. It always just seemed a little bit more cerebral than the other comic books. It was a little smarter. It was a little deeper. It was subtler. Like it dealt much more with the psychology of the characters rather than just the action and adventure of them. And as a kid, I found it very, very interesting. And then he did Ronin. And I remember as a kid reading that book, the collected graphic novel, and I think I had to read it 3 or 4 times just to understand it. It was so complicated, or complicated to me at age 13. It was so complicated. And what was interesting to me before Frank Miller became an awful human being was just that he really reinvented characters, really got into the psyche of characters, what made them tick. That's why the first RoboCop movie is so good, because he wrote a lot of that for why RoboCop does what he does, and that was new for comic books at that time. Unfortunately, later he just became an idiot.
Sometimes the people become crazy. Sometimes.
Yeah.
This is the dark side of the moon of some artists sometimes.
Yeah.
Another questions, more TMT reaction, Markman, Joy Able, and Letterhead.
We're going to make reaction figures forever.
Awesome.
We're going to make everybody.
I saw the video from Super7 about the last wave of TMT Ultimates. Because I remember Letterhead and the videos. So cool your version, because when I got the vintage one, I don't know, something was weird in that figures. But the Ultimates, you discover something that you never understand of the vintage one, because you complete something that was missing the vintage one with the Ultimates, but not just because they are Ultimates or bigger. In general, you make a complete something in the concept of that figures, in my opinion. What do you think about this, my consideration?
I mean, you can argue it both ways. I think where, it's sort of like hamburgers are very good, and then we're going to go make a fancy hamburger, or pizza. Pizza is very good, but then you can go to another place and it's the exact same pizza, but man, it tastes so much better. So I had to go Italian, so I went pizza. Everybody cooks it a little different, and it tastes a little different, but they're still both very good. So I don't know that we reinvent it or recreate it or add something new. Maybe it is for somebody. I'm just trying to take this, like I said, the spirit and the essence of that character or that toy and sort of bring it back to life again in my way.
And there is another question. There are many questions. I try to pick the most interesting.
Master. Wouldn't that be cool? Not yet, but it would be cool.
Awesome.
Yeah, with the cape, with the pyramid thing on the hand. You'd have to have the ring with the eyeball that lifts up. Like,
Awesome.
that would be a
And
good cat to make, because you'd have to make the tiger. You'd have to make the owl. You'd have to. Oh, what were those guys that like would wrap their arms around everybody and then eat them and leave the pile of bones? All that stuff would be rad.
in your career in Super7, you did many things and many stuff and many projects. But what is the most difficult things that you did
Difficult in what way?
to create, to product, the production?
If you're talking about something that took the longest for us to understand what we wanted to do, it would probably be the baseball figures. Like, Major League Baseball and us started talking 4.5 years ago. And I was just like, I don't know what I would do. I don't know how I would do that in a way that's interesting or unique. And it took me a long time until I basically sort of felt like I was going to make them look and feel like baseball cards. And then once I did that, then it made sense. But it took a long time for me to find out, while we had the opportunity, that was great. We weren't going to do it if I didn't have something that was interesting to me. And so it took me a long time to find something that was interesting to me in what I would do in sports, because it's very different, when you're talking about science fiction or you're talking about comic books or cartoons, it's very easy. But what would it be with sports figures? I don't know. That took a minute.
Okay. And what is the biggest surprise that you got from the beginning and until now in Super7? The biggest surprise that you never wondered before to create?
I mean, the biggest surprise still is that people are buying my toys. That's the biggest surprise. As far as like licenses, there's lots of them that you'd never expect that do really well, and some that you expect to do really well that just do okay. You never know. You never know. And every single time it's an unknown. Every single time you think but you never know till the product comes out, how people are going to react to it. It's been very interesting to watch, because there's things that you're convinced, everyone's going to want that. And then it just kind of does okay. And then you'll have something that you made just for the fun of it, hoping to break even, that takes off. And if there was a way to predict it, we'd all be in better business.
Okay, it looks like for the life of an artist, because for example, when I wrote a novel, I don't know which of my novel will be published, for example. This is every time that I publish a novel is unexpected, because maybe when I wrote this novel, I don't know that, because I didn't know that, because when especially because when I work on my novel, I don't schedule nothing. I follow the river of the inspiration. But in general, also for a life of an artist, like a life of a toy maker, and basically, if someone you create something creative. So it's the same. This type of surprise in your journey, in your career, in my opinion.
Yeah, I mean, none of this was necessarily planned. We're definitely following the flow of the river for this, and letting it take us where we go. I mean, obviously, I'm trying to plan, but you never know. And we're trying to ride the waves as best we can.
There is another question, speaking of the reaction. Have you ever thought of adding interchangeable parts to the reaction line, but still keep it in the as 5POA, Mesco as interchangeable 5POA?
Bits and pieces. I'm more interested in making sure the figure turns out right. If you do interchangeable, then it's sort of like the C-3PO with removable limbs from Star Wars. Like those joints are going to get looser and looser. They're not going to fit as well. Yes, it's neat that it's swappable, but I think you're going to run into longer term problems of being able to make those figures stand up and everything. Yeah, I don't know. That's something where when we've looked at that in the past, it's always just kind of been like, does that give us something that we don't already have? Maybe for some people, but for me, it didn't feel like it was worth the trade-off that you would have to do in sort of manufacturing and how the figure holds up over time.
In my opinion, I think is that the changeable parts for reaction, I don't know if it work very well because it's two different philosophy of toys. The reaction is reaction, the ultimates is the ultimates. If you want changeable parts, you got the ultimates. If you want not changeable parts and maybe smaller price and different vintage and also nostalgia feelings, you got the reaction. So if you put the tangible parts in the reaction, in my opinion, I don't know if it's weird, but maybe it's not appropriate like in the Ultimates.
It's just a different thing. It's like, you could totally do that with Micronauts back in the day and other things. So it's not without precedent, but not something that I've sort of driven myself to. So
There is a
I was about to say it's also getting at 7:30. I have family dinner, so
okay.
Here in just a couple minutes, I will have to run away, Alan.
Yes, I'm sorry that you have Croc close to your dinner. Okay, maybe the last question for me now. Now there is I won't share this one because it's a precision for both me and you. Thank you both for taking the time to talk to us. I know you are very busy. That is part of the reason I buy your stuff because there is no way Mattel or most other companies will talk to their fans. For is a appreciation for you.
Well, that's very nice of you to say. I think, I don't know that there's no way that those companies would. I think they just maybe don't prioritize it or they don't allow it because they don't want somebody speaking for the whole of the company. Obviously, in my position, I am the whole of the company in some ways, but there's no secrets here. I'm not trying to sell somebody something they don't want. I'm not trying to hide some deep, dark secret. There's things that we work on that take longer than expected. We have delays, things go wrong. And I just try to be as transparent as I can because that's, it's supposed to be fun. And I don't see the problem in asking me a question, even if it's a question about something you don't like the fact that Silverhawks aren't chrome. That's a very valid question. And I can tell you why I didn't do it. Doesn't mean you'll like the answer, but that's my answer. And that's why we ended up where we did. So, I think the other thing is that a lot of people, like I said, I said I'd give other people in the company chances to talk about the toys they're at. There's a lot of people that don't want to do it because then it gives ammunition for other people to scream and yell at you and be mean to you. There's definitely people that don't like me because I'm always out talking about my toys. Who does that guy think he is? I'm like, I don't think I'm anything. You asked me a question and I answered. That's all. I'm not trying to be famous guy. I'm just the guy making toys. And I appreciate everyone that buys the toys for me. So if you have a question, I will go on to someplace and answer questions.
Awesome. It's time to go to the piano because for Brian, it's time to go to the dinner.
That's right.
I don't want that your wife and your kids become upset because waiting you the talks with a Mad Hatter from Italy.
No, well, when we come to Italy, then I expect the Mad Hatter to take me to all the secret toy shops.
If you come back in Italy, send me a message, especially if you go to the North Italy, and maybe we can get a coffee together.
Of course.
Thanks for watching, my friends. And don't forget to follow in Super7 website for every update. And don't forget, don't cry, people, because Brian will return on July for another big news. Don't cry and don't forget to subscribe. Thank you, Brian.
Thank you,
Good night, my friends. Good night, Brian. Have a nice dinner, Brian. Thanks for watching, guys, and see you tomorrow with another interview with the amazing. So long, everybody. Goodbye.